Okay, so for our next exercise, practicing color mixing, we're going to be doing some work with tints and shades. A tint is a color and with white added, and a shade is a color with black added. So you can see kind of how we'll be doing one column with color plus white mixed in, another column with color plus black mixed in. On my palette, I have just 1 cup of white, 1 cup of black, and then you're gonna choose what color you'd like to mix. So if it's helpful, you may wanna go back to our previous exercise, looking at all these different colors we mixed. I really like green. Green is my favorite color. So I decided that I'm gonna be doing my tint and shade practice with green. And so I have yellow and blue over here. First thing I need to do is I need to mix up that color. So I'll be using my palette knife again to do that. I'm not going to mix them together right away. I'm actually gonna make them together in a new cup. It just helps to get in the habit of doing that so that you always have your pure color available. It can be a little time consuming, but I find for myself that it saves me paint and it saves me time in the long run, so that if I need to add yellow or if I need to add blue to a color, I have it right there. I have it already right there for me. So I have that yellow there, and then I have my blue, and I'm gonna mix a fair amount of blue, and I kind of want like a grassy green. And you need to mix enough of this color because we're going to be using a fair amount of it in this worksheet, and we don't really want to have to remix it. And I'm using my palette knife to mix, and I am pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more blue. And again, whatever color you're mixing, we're not mixing any white, we're not mixing any black in yet, we're just mixing that pure color, that pure hue. All right, I like the way that looks. So I'm gonna start my worksheet again. I'm working on the left column here. The top part says white, the bottom says color, and I'm going to start with the lighter color first. Well, of course, that is going to be white. So I'm gonna paint that top box white. And you might be thinking, why would I paint white paint on white paper? But when you paint onto a surface, whether that's canvas or paper or something else, linen, the quality of the paint on that surface does alter it, and it does look different. And so you may be tempted to just leave it the white of the paper, but I always say put that white paint down because it does, again, alter the surface. I like to flip my paper around when I pull my paintbrush across so I can get up to those edges. Really nice. And also make sure your paintbrush is nice and clean when you start this exercise. Otherwise, you'll start off with paint in the brush and in the box right away. All right, so our top box is done. Next, I'm going to be mixing the next box here. I'm going to have white and just a little bit of green added. So again, I'll do my mixing right here. I'm going to clean off my palette knife. I'm going to start with my lighter color when I mix, so I'll take some white, put that into a new cup. I'll start with a fair amount, because again, I have to have enough of this to make it through the whole box. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of my green. And it makes a really nice pale green for me. I'm gonna do just a tiny bit more. Remember that your paint dries a little bit lighter. So if you feel like it looks kind of dark in the well, know that when you put it down on the paper, it is gonna be a little bit lighter when it dries. So I'll take this. Nice pale green. I'm gonna clean my palette knife in between every time that I take more of this green because I don't want to get any white into my pure color. You can see I already have a little bit in there by mistake. So I'm gonna clean my palette knife, take a little bit more green, and add it in. Do a little bit more. Mix it nice and thoroughly. Load my paintbrush. Again, I'm going to pull straight across. Again, I'm going to clean my palette knife. Take a little bit more green. I'll try to scoop out that white that I had before. There we go. And I'm going to add a fair amount this time. I'll do one more big scoop. See a little bit of paint on my hand. Now I'm actually going to work in the opposite direction because I could add more green into here, but I'd have to add quite a lot of this green in order to get a nice darker color with just a little bit of white here. So I'm going to switch this up a little bit. I'm going to take some of my green that I have. I'm going to put it into a new cup. And I'm going to take some of the green tint that I already have and I'm going to mix some of that in. So now there's just a little bit of white mixed in. And that's going to be a better way to conserve my paint and just do a little bit rather than taking a ton of this green and putting it in here. I now just have a little bit here that's going to be darker than that, but still has a small amount of white in it. And then my last box is going to be that pure green that I mixed up. So I'm going to wash out my paintbrush really well because again, I don't want to have any white in it. I don't want to have, I don't want to alter that color at all. I want it to be this pure green that I made. And I'll take that and make that as my bottom box. Remember, what we're doing right now is working with tints. A tint is a color with white added in to lighten it up. This is how we make pastel colors. So I have my row done of tints. Again, I want to have a solid, separate color for each box. And now we're going to start working with our shades. And I can keep using that same green, because again, I'll start with my lighter color first. If I'm picking between a color and black, I know that black is the darkest color there is. It's the most powerful color there is in terms of altering others. And so I'm going to start with my color. Again, that nice pure green. I'm going to mix that in, or rather paint that on the paper up here at the top. And now, because I chose a darker color like green, when I start adding black to this, my paint is going to get dark very quickly, and it's going to be hard for me to probably recognize each shade and how much it is different when it's in the well, because it's going to be wet and it's going to be mixed together, and it's hard to tell exactly what it's going to look like when I paint it. So I like to keep a little bit of scratch paper nearby so I can kind of practice and see how it looks. But again, my first step, as always, is to take some of that green that I have here, and I'm going to put it over here next to my black. And I'm going to take a little bit of black. So here are the two colors I'm mixing together now, my color and my black. And I'm going to take a very, very, very small amount of black, because it does change the color very quickly. You can see I have just a small amount on the edge of my palette knife there. Black is one color as well that you really want to add in small increments, because it does change very fast. You can see already I'm getting kind of that nice mossy green. And I'm noticing my paint is definitely getting darker already. I'll do the same thing, take a little bit more black. Mix that in. Notice how I'm not using very much paint. A lot of times when we're mixing colors, we think we need to mix a lot of it, but I'm just painting one small box, so I don't need much. You can see already how much lighter these are drying. Same with down here, you can see how much lighter these do dry. Take a little bit more black. You can see I have a fly with me today. I added quite a bit of black that time. I hope it wasn't too much. We'll see. Hope but it still reads as a dark, kind of foresty green when it dries. All right, my last box, adding in black. I'm gonna do one more good scoop. Again, when I look at it mixing here, it really looks like I'm mixing just black, but I have faith that when this dries, it is gonna be, I know there is green in there that I know will show up. But yeah, it does look really dark right now to me. All right, I'm gonna wash out my paintbrush. And then that last box, we're gonna paint that pure black. So I can take the black right from the palette. So I'm gonna pause the video for a moment, let this paint dry, and then we'll check back in and see how it looks when it's all dried up. All right, so our paper has dried quite a bit more now, and you can really see the difference, especially down here between the black and that really, really dark green. And as this dries even more, these colors will continue to lighten up just slightly. So that was your practice with tints and shades.